Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Today we are having a next episode of our amazing series entitled Legal Insight for Modern Leaders by GESSEL. So my job today is just to introduce Dominika Ramirez-Wałkiewicz, tax partner at GESSEL, attorney at law, who is one of our strategic legal partner who will run today webinar entitled How Big Tech Can Survive the European Union Digital Tsunami. Dominika, I guess this is a super important topic. Can you tell us why we should listen to you carefully? Who will be touched by these changes in law and who is already touched by these changes?
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. These regulations are very important for every company, not only big tech, but also for other sectors, because it's not just legal texts, but also they have impact on day-to-day business, on the strategies of the companies, and also on the innovation and compliance. That's really important. I know that they might be difficult to understand. It's really difficult to read this text, but I hope that today's webinar will be more interesting for you than reading this text line by line.
I have no doubts that you will manage to present it in a really approachable way. So without further ado, Dominika, the stage is yours. I stayed at the background and listen and make notes. So you can start right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we will start. Justyna, can you share the screen and present? Thank you very much. At the beginning, I will show you, I will present some regulations concerning big techs and IT sector, some chosen by me, most important, I think. And further, I will discuss this impact of these regulations with Ania from Allegro. So please stay and listen carefully. Further, you can also ask some additional questions if you like. Okay, so let's start. Agenda for today. This is our roadmap for today meetings. Firstly, I will introduce some EU digital regulations. I am curious if you know them. Further, I will talk about Data Act, so revolution in data access, not only personal data, but also non-personal data. DAC 7, a game changer in e-commerce, Digital Services Act, and Digital Markets Act. Next slide, Justyna, please. Thank you. So EU digital regulator revolution. We have many acts implemented by the European Union, and these acts are implemented or introduced almost at the same time. As an example, this is only examples because I thought preparing this presentation, I thought about other also acts or other directives or regulations, but I have chosen only some of them. So DAC 7, DAC 8, Data Act, NIS 2, Digital Services Act, Digital Markets Act are only the examples of this act. So it means that the IT sector and many companies should be prepared for them, for implementation and to be in line with these regulations and these requirements of the European Union. Data Act, so revolution in data access. Next slide, Justyna, please. This legal basis is the regulation of the European Parliament. It is applied starting from this year, so really new regulation. And regarding regulation, no implementation is required. So it means that the Data Act is binding in each EU state, in each EU country, directly. In case of directive, so the national governments, national parliaments should implement, should vote for new law, and in case of regulation, it is not required. And coming back to the Data Act, who does it concern? It concerns producers, devices like smart home appliances, connected cars, industrial machines. So IoT, Internet of Things, so physical devices with software that collect the data and exchange data over the internet. So it's really important because this will have an impact on the producers. Because, for example, the producers could easily share this data, allow the consumers to share this data with other external providers. As an example, you have washing machine, and you can use the application for the analysis of the energy. So you could have an access to this data collected by this producer of this washing machine and send this data to this application provider. Who else it concerns this act? So this is software providers that interact with these devices, cloud and data processing companies, because data portability is a key goal, and entities using third-party data. For example, public sector could also have an access to this data in case of emergencies. For example, in case like natural disasters or public health crisis. What are the key principles? The regulation aims to ensure fair distribution of benefits from data in data-driven economy, but defining who can use this data and under which conditions. It introduces mechanisms that allows users of connected products, consumers, for example, to access this data and send this data to another provider, for example, insurance company also. It includes also measures to enhance legal certainty regarding data access and use, particularly for connected products. And Data Act concerns not only non-personal data, but also personal data. However, in case of personal data, you need to remember that it is regulated by GDPR rules. So this is the combination of both acts that should be taken into account. DAC 7, so next directive, next regulation, it was implemented 2 years ago. Next slide, Justyna. In Poland, it applies from July 2024. This is directive, so the EU member state implemented this directive to the local national legislation. And it occurred, for example, that in Lithuania, this directive was implemented earlier, and it had an impact on Polish consumers, on Polish sellers. Because in Lithuania, Vinted, so one of digital platform operator, is located, and Vinted was obliged and is obliged to report to Lithuanian tax authority about the taxpayers, about the sellers of the goods through this online platform. So it was surprised by some of Polish citizens that they received letter from tax office informing them that they sold many things on Vinted and should pay, for example, some additional tax in Poland. So who is concerned? Digital platform operators who enable the sale of goods, like Allegro, for example, provision of services in person, like plumbers, rental of means of transport, and rental of real estate. So booking platform, it's the best example. The data collected by these platforms are the name of the seller, tax identification number, address, the number of sales, because some of people are exempt from paying this tax in case of transactions fewer than 30 yearly or under 2,000 euro annually. And why this was implemented? Because of the European Union saw that some taxes are not paid. So they wanted to tighten the tax system and to combat the shadow economy. And of course, ensure greater transparency of income from digital activities. And I remember that in case of this DAC 7, this directive, this was very difficult to implement this directive into internal regulations, into internal procedures of the companies. Next act, this is, Justina, next slide, please. Digital Services Act. So this is order in online content. And the legal basis, this is regulation also, so no implementation is required. And this act applies from February 2024. And who is concerned? So these are businesses providing online intermediary services to recipients located in the European Union, regardless of the provider's place of establishment. So even non-EU companies are obliged to be in line with this Digital Services Act. And it concerns internet access providers, hosting services, providers, online platforms like marketplaces, social media, travel platforms, and very large online platforms like TikTok, Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Zalando, Amazon. So these are platforms with over 45 million of active users monthly. So only big companies and these very large online platforms have additional obligations under this regulation. Justina, next, please. What is about? This is about safe online environment. So the aim is to protect consumers and these fundamental rights online, combat illegal content, hate speech, disinformation. So in Poland, I think in many countries, children have problems with their mental health or with hate speeches. So this Digital Services Act is to combat with this content and to help children and people generally to live in safe online environment. The also additional aim is to increase transparency in advertising, harmonize the EU internal market, and support for digital innovation. Like an example, hosting services, they must remove illegal content swiftly and inform users. And the users can appeal from this decision to the and to the special authority in each country. Each country is obliged to appoint such representative, such authority to obtain and to decide about this appeal from users. And Digital Markets Act, it concerns gatekeeper, so also very large platforms. This is a regulation, so no implementation is required. It applies from May 2023 and concerns only digital platforms, very large digital platforms that have achieved annual turnover of at least 7.5 billion euro over the last 3 years, or have a market valuation of at least 75 billion euros, have at least 45 million monthly active end users located in the European Union, have at least 10,000 active business users established in the EU, and provide at least one core platform service in 3 EU member states. And the European Commission, they choose such digital platforms, and they are Alphabet, Amazon, Apple, Meta, Microsoft, ByteDance, and Booking. And for example, in case of ByteDance, they appeal to the court that they shouldn't be obliged to act in line with this Digital Markets Act, but they failed. Next slide, please. And what is about? This is clear obligations and prohibitions for large online platforms. For example, it's these platforms should allow users to uninstall pre-installed apps easily, or provide advertisers and business users access to performance data, to promote innovation and fairer platform environment for new tech companies, to enable business users to offer consumers more choice. And so it's about banning unfair practices made by large online platforms, like, for example, self-preference of the own products in rankings. And I think that European Commission sent a few preliminary findings, for example, to Alphabet, for failing to comply with this Digital Markets Act. So these digital platforms, big digital platforms, are obliged to be in line with this act. But because the penalties for non-compliance are really huge, it's up to 10% of global annual turnover. Okay, so this was only general framework of these regulations, because they are really huge and more than 100 pages for each of this act. From now, I think we could invite Ania to our discussion. Ania is a group tax director in Allegro. She knows almost everything about EU regulations and how they affect day-to-day operations of a large group like Allegro. And for those who don't know, Allegro is the leading e-commerce platform in Central and Eastern Europe, connecting millions of buyers and sellers every day. Ania, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Hello, Dominika, and thank you so much for the kind introduction. It's a genuine pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you. So let's discuss a bit about the practice, and this practical approach of Allegro, how to implement these regulations into companies. And the EU digital tsunami involves many acts. Yeah, and these acts should be implemented almost at the same time. So could you please share with us how does Allegro handle with this flood of new EU regulations? Maybe do you have, or what internal processes do you use to map and prioritize these requirements across different business units in your organization?
Well, that's an excellent question, and it really gets to the heart of what it means to be a compliance professional at a multinational, publicly listed company right now. When we talk about digital tsunami, that metaphor is spot on. It truly feels like a massive wave of rules coming from all directions, hitting us all at once. For Allegro, the challenge isn't just one big law, it's the volume and velocity of various changes. And it's really a huge undertaking. So our first and biggest challenge is simply monitoring and filtering. So we are dealing with hundreds of pages of new rules, proposal, working documents, but some of them matter, some of them don't. So we need to pre-assess them, to focus only on those that actually could have impact on our business or could or should be actually implemented, like some additional reporting. It is difficult and it's amplified because Allegro it's not a single homogeneous company. We have different companies in our group operating in various jurisdictions and business in different business models. So um, each new law must be assessed from multiple perspectives simultaneously. To manage this, we have implemented a kind of internal framework. Our centralized regulatory and compliance teams detect each new piece of legislation. They pre-evaluate the risk, whether it should be implemented or not, what it means to us, gather business feedback on the potential impact, and then this is a critical aspect, they participate in the legislative process itself. So propose amendments and comments, and they often offer business context, which is sometimes forgotten by lawmakers. This is all done by constant meeting and discussing. Once the law is finalized, the implementation mandate is passed to the relevant business, tech, tax teams. And no company can do it on its own. And we need various support and collaborations from law firms, tax advisors, and from business associations to map, filter all the changes.
So you are prepared for many changes, yeah, which will come into force in few
At the
years.
same time,
Yeah, because you have this compliance team and which is focused on each piece of new regulation, and they inform each business unit from your company, from your companies, from your group, what should be prepared, right? So, because this was my next question, how does your team stay informed and prepare for these changes? Because you deal mainly with taxes, right? But you need to
correct.
connect and combine this compliance, legal regulations, etc. So, how does your team stay informed and prepared for these changes? I mean, because after this regulation is passed, it's entered into force. So there are many. Further, there are issued many interpretation of this law. Many technical standards appear. So, so which sources do you use to manage?
Well, this is a complex question, so maybe bit by bit. the biggest compliance risk isn't the law itself, is the period between the law is being passed and the detailed technical guidance that is being released. So all the delegated acts, regulatory standards, or simply explanatory notes. This period is when we must make educated guesses and prepare for various scenarios, as the implementation itself is often a very lengthy, complex process and cannot be delayed until every legal doubt is fully resolved. So instead of waiting, we need to meet and discuss with IT product teams to foresee a future and to run some proactive scenario planning. So we try to foresee the worst case scenario, best case scenario, what could happen, how the actual implementation could look like. And we determine 2, 3 very plausible outcomes, and we prepare for the worst one. So when the final law and guidance is known, then we can easily adjust the scenario to the, in most cases, less complex or not that bad scenario chosen by the legislator. And
Okay,
our
so you are prepared for the worst case scenario.
correct, and are surprised with the slightly better one.
Lucky you. Yeah.
Yes. But in order to stay ahead and to be able to run these scenarios, to predict to certain extent the future, we need to use, I call it like external intelligence network. So we don't rely only on one source. As I said, we work with law firms, with lobbying groups and business associations. They are great source of new initiatives even before the drafting itself starts. And it's what is also very important. At least personally, I rely on peer-to-peer networking. So it involves candid conversations with peers in similar roles, and this helps me to check whether the understanding of the new law is similar and adjust my scenario planning. So we are not, taking care of something that it's nuance and it's not important, but there is some big elephant being not seen by my team.
Okay, so peer-to-peer relation is really important, I see. Yeah,
Definitely.
our different organization differs. They differ,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so what is in your role, yeah, this connection, legal compliance and financial operational risk? What is the single most difficult challenge you face? Because you need both satisfy regulators and internal auditors. Yeah. So how do you do this?
So irrespective of that pace that we have, so the challenge that the implementation must start even before the final setup is known. The other huge challenge is that sometimes we need to translate the very abstract intent of the law into measurable, auditable actions, proof points. So many of these new regulations that you mentioned, like DSA or Data Act, they don't dictate a very clear, specific, I don't know, piece of software functionality or document format. Instead, they rather require the group to demonstrate some abstract concept like fairness in algorithmic content recommendations, or reasonableness, like in data access requests, proportionality in security measures, or in my area, due diligence, like when verifying merchants' data or calculating and collecting e-commerce VAT on certain transactions that are not done by Allegro, but by our merchants, especially those from third countries like China. So these are very abstract concepts. And our challenge is to take these concepts and turn them into a, I would say, binary checklist. What needs to be done to prove that this is actually maintained, implemented by the group. And to make this concrete, the hardest part of the process is creating the end-to-end evidence trail that connects the document and what have been implemented, and to prove that it was good enough and we couldn't do any better.
So the challenge, I understand, is to transform these regulations, which are not so strictly written, into the practice, into the operations in the company. So, for example, because I have these acts with me at this moment, I might read one article, only just few lines from the Data Act, to show you the language of this. A data holder may apply appropriate technical protection measures, including smart contracts, encryption, to prevent unauthorized access to data, including metadata, and to ensure compliance with Articles 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, as well with the agreed contractual terms for making data available. So, yeah, that's
Exactly.
really
This is the challenge.
cool.
On one hand, I do understand lawmakers because they cannot address every business model. They
Yeah.
cannot foresee how actually companies do operate. But on the other hand, we internal teams, we are locked in certain business models. And some companies are in worsen position. Here, I would say that everyone who is based in Poland, it's in a slightly worse position in comparison to European competitors, because our tax authorities, our authorities in general, are very strict and they require a lot. They demand data. They don't pay attention whether some reportings have sense or not, make sense or not. They simply come and demand. And when Poland is implementing those vague EU directives, we additionally often do so-called gold plating. So we add something extra to the Polish implementing rules. We demand something extra, like in DAX 6 on the MDR, like in DAX 7 on additional countries from which we need to verify merchants. And this poses a huge challenge to Polish companies.
Comparing with other countries, yeah.
Correct.
I remember tax 6 and additional obligation to report tax schemes once again, because the IT system was not prepared and was not in line with the EU IT system. Yeah, and it was nightmare. So
it is, and it's extremely costly endeavor when you implement the same rules differently in various jurisdictions. From the group perspective, when we would like to have one standardized approach, this is a nightmare to monitor these implementations and to see how they differ from the main framework provided in a slightly vague manner by the directive.
Yeah, and I see this some inefficiency. So, what has caused the most friction or inefficiency inside Allegro due to this overload of regulations?
Mhm.
What are the main collaboration challenges between legal department, compliance department,
Mhm.
tech product department? Because you need to face with this tight EU deadlines, right?
Mhm. So the greatest source of that friction or inefficiencies is created by the clash between the velocity of the market itself and the velocity of the compliance implementation. So tech product teams, they operate in a high velocity, focusing on releasing new features, driving user experience, or just responding to market demands, because you need to be on top of competitors, on competition, to deliver something that your customers actually wait for, something extraordinary. On the other hand, the legal finance teams, they operate in a high risk velocity, focusing on risk assessment to achieve a perfect compliance. And every EU regulation requires an immediate claim on very limited tech resources. The tech teams, they naturally put greater priority on projects that generate revenue or improve user interface. Legal and tax finance teams, they and their projects are very often perceived like as non-generating must-dos, and this leads to a prioritization gridlock. Um, it's a challenge to convince the owners that a compliance project needs to be done, and it needs to be done very quickly. Sometimes it leads to the situations that compliance projects are simply under resourced, and we are doing them in a costly last minute sprints just before a deadline.
Yeah, because I heard that the business first. Yeah.
Correct.
And
I
compliance,
believe.
it's, it's less important, but it's important. So, Anya, as a group tax director, how do you keep core tax compliance? I mean, VAT, customs duties, digital
Mhm.
taxes strong, while also allocating major resources to implement these new regulations? Because you told us that, yeah, sometimes this compliance from tax, finance, or legal, it's not so important for business.
So the challenge is real, and every hour spent on new laws is an hour diverted from core operational projects. So we cannot simply hire our way out of this. We have to use technology to free up our talent and our resources. And Dominika, I will be very frank with you. There are no easy hints or quick fixes here. And it's a constant, demanding struggle that requires a huge engagement and passion of the entire team. So the multitasking is something typical, and constant firefighting mode. It's typical for internal teams. And luckily, all AI-based solutions come in handy. Um, right now, rather to improve personal effectiveness than to solve actual tax issues. But this is actually a game changer to me, and I'm getting addicted to Gemini.
Okay, so you recommend, yeah, using AI in general, but yeah, I'm thinking how not to going crazy to navigate these regulations. Yeah, because it's really demanding.
Mhm. You need to keep a high level of curiosity, because instead of being just like my role, instead of just being focused on tax area and focusing only on tax directives, etc., I need to be interested in other directives as well, because they may impose some reporting that ultimately will impact my tax reporting. Or I would not be able to say, like, for example, in when new European customs code is being prepared, I cannot say we don't have access to this or that data, because under different rules, we this access should have. So this is very demanding, that you need to know a lot about various topics, maybe not to the very in a very deep to the very deep extent, but you need to know what's going on in different areas of the business.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much, Anya, for your share, of this information and how it looks in Allegro. So, dear participants, maybe you have questions to Anya.
It's a very tempting opportunity, because I love taxes and I can talk about tax law all the time.
But Anya, I assure you, nobody likes taxes, so yeah, especially to pay them. Okay,
Yes.
so, thank you very much for this.
Thank you, Dominika, for this kind discussion.
Anna, I was listening to you, and momentarily I was speechless because I was, wow, they are betting all the time. Absolutely, you spend so much time on let's foreseeing the future, looking for the
Mhm,
outcomes, looking for what's
mhm,
best, what can best happen, or what worse can happen. On one hand, it can be really exciting, I guess. And I see this in your eyes, that this is like, what happens next?
yeah,
But on the other hand, this is business. Yeah, this is
it
huge,
is.
huge responsibility. Do you feel it? Do you feel this responsibility? Because Allegro is really a huge platform. It has, let's say, global reach, customers from all over the world, and you have to be up to date with this.
Mhm.
How you see it, how you feel it, and how you relax.
Wow. Um, this is a burden, to be honest. So I feel this responsibility on my shoulders, and very often I'm afraid that I will miss something. So I have the impression that I'm reading constantly and learning constantly and discussing with my peers constantly as well to catch up. Maybe I'm missing something. So it's a kind of vicious circle. But on the other hand, this is all so interesting, very often precedental. So we are doing this for the first time, and this gives us like extra motivation, extra boost to do it. Allegro, indeed, it's a marketplace available right now in 4 markets, but we have different lines, like fintech lines as well. And this is simply very, you know, I don't want to be bragging here, but it gives you the impression that you can have impact on something. So when you are in the legislation process from the very early stage, and you can see the impact of this law if it's enacted in this very early draft, and we propose changes, etc., they are implemented by the lawmakers. This is something great. So you feel that you are not a compliance function itself, but you do something extra, you change the market. So this is great. And that foreseeing future, indeed, I could have like crystal ball at my desk to see what the future will bring. But I'm a big fan of chess, and I play a lot chess. So this is like that for me.
I think Allegros should be really happy that they have you, because there's so much passion in what you're saying. And when I think
Oh,
about the outcomes of our report, Strong Women in IT, you absolutely fit into the model. On one hand, constant changes makes you excited because you can be part of this change, you can pave the way for others. But on the other hand, it's also stressful, and you have the feeling that you are not sure whether the next step will be the right step. So yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's difficult not to close options, because sometimes by deciding to go into option one, you don't know it now, but in 2 years it will happen that that decision from the past closed some options for you going forward, and that planning what could happen if this is chosen, this is very exciting. And it helps you to be creative, even though people in finance should not be creative. We know that this has some poor consequences, but this help you to be creative and very close to business, basically.
Dominika, I have also one question for you, because thank you for this presentation of these regulations that already existed or would be existed. How you how you suggest strong women in IT, how they can be updated with newest solutions, what they can do to know exactly and be on the right moment, in the right moment when it comes to um, law that is changing all the time. Because I as Anna said, just they have whole teams that are preparing different scenarios. How you look at it, and what you suggest for those who wants to be at the top level with knowing how the law is changing?
I personally read a lot, and each morning, because
Mhm.
I'm first in the office each morning, so I read the articles in the press. I obtain some articles from different sources. I also have contacts with my colleagues from legal departments, different departments, of course, and yeah, and we also prepare some summary of regulations, some newsletters for our clients. Also, they should be informed about changes and about the impact of these changes to their business.
Yeah, that's super
It
useful.
changed a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like RSS, yeah, the old ways to integrate data from the internet. Ladies, thank you so much for this important and energetic discussion and this webinar. Dominika, thank you for inviting Anna. She was absolutely perfect choice as one as
Thank
was
you.
prepares. And I want to thank you all the listeners and viewers of our webinar, because this is the last one of a webinar in this year. We will have next webinar probably on February 2026. So we'll meet, let's say, next year, in the next year. So thank you so much, ladies. For those interested in what we do as Strong Women in IT, I strongly recommend you to visit our website, strongwomeninit.com, or our LinkedIn profile, where we are really active with what happens in our community. Of course, you can follow us, follow our newsletter. Of course, download the report. Anna, if you haven't downloaded yet, please read it. I
I will
think
do
you
it definitely.
I think you fit the model of strong women in IT. So thank you so much, and have a nice day, evening, afternoon, whenever you are listening to us. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Bye.